Hey, it's Jase, and welcome to today's edition of Speakeasy with Jase. So, today you are going to learn about how to radically change who you are. I'm super excited to bring on our guest. His name is Tony Lister, and Tony Lister, if you see the post I put up earlier, he's got this super cool, awesome bio. I'll give you a little bit of it, and then I'll tell you my personal story of Tony. So, Tony. Huge background that brings together real life results, online businesses. He's owned businesses for 20 years, from furniture stores to real estate, online education, products, performance coaching. He's helped build and sell an online publishing business that has social media reach of over 100 million views. 100 million. I did not have any idea it was that big. Spent over 10,000 hours deep inside the inner world of CEOs, executives, attorneys, athletes, artists, world changers. He specializes helping people accelerate the results while overcoming the self-sabotage patterns that often follow success. He's a public speaker, trainer, and I just love him. And we've reconnected recently, and I love him so much because he shows about making a difference in the world. Tony's one of the first people who came through my personal growth events, and then what he did in the world, like, far outstripped what I did, and it's been just so cool. Because I now have personal friends here in Boise and in Las Vegas that Tony touched. And so it's seeing how things come full circle and how someone I touched has gone and touched so many more lives. So please welcome to the show, bringing him into the stream now, Tony Lister. Tony, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you so much. I disappeared for a second. I thought we lost the stream, so I'm really happy to have this here. I want to say something. This is on my mind and my heart. When I attended Jase's event, this must have been like 2005.
2004 or 5. Yeah, one of those.
Turn off my notifications here. I attended this event, and I was really inspired by what Jase shared, and it deeply touched me. And I went, and it was quite a stretch. I think it was the first thing I bought from you was $2,500, and then I later upgraded to one that was $4,500. And my wife and I both came, so it was like a $9,000 investment. And it was really interesting because I want to acknowledge you, Jase, in this space, because I went to Jase at the back of the room. There's a lot of people talking to him. He'd spoken in front of hundreds of people, and people were registering for the event. And Jase took like 20 minutes in the middle of all this, and he got into my world, and he looked me in the eyes, and he said this one thing to me. He goes, you know, I can see that there's anger in your eyes, and you seem like a person that could be really joyful. And it was really interesting for him to witness me and just be straight and like get into my world. And really have me be seen. And I had a tremendous amount of anger, and I had a tremendous amount of shame in my life at the time. I hadn't done any personal growth work really, and a lot of chaos. And just you taking that time to like get in my world and get in my space, it transformed my life in such a revolutionary way. And it has now affected like tens of thousands of people all over the world because you took a moment to look me in the eyes and be real with me and get present. And it wasn't just about enrolling me into, getting my $2,500 or whatever it was. It was like you got into my world and you created possibility. And that possibility was no joke. That possibility became action, became growth, became transformation. And I just so much appreciate that, Jase, that you took that moment. I don't know if you remember it or not, but that changed my whole life.
Thank you. I wish Betsy could have heard.
Betsy's over here. So no, I remember it vividly, and I don't know if you know. So I still tell stories about you. I don't know if you remember this, but there's 2 stories I tell about you. Actually, 3 stories I tell about you. I'll tell them in order of when they happened. Can you hear me? Okay, still. Yeah. All right, good. So let me do some shout outs too as people are joining the stream. We got a bunch of people tuning in. It's good to see everybody. By the way, if you're watching, please like and share the stream so more people see it. I think we got some stuff today that's going to be super valuable. Also, Tony, I don't know if you could angle a little bit. We get little more light on your face would be super nice.
Yeah, apologize for this space. I'm here at my friend's house. We're creating a live stream event this week, and so in the house, there's 2 other live streams happening, and I actually had to come outside to meet with you here. So I apologize for the lighting.
Oh no, I've been participating on it, and it's been fantastic. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So here's the first story I talk about, Tony. I remember being at that back table, and I don't tell this part, so I'm going to tell here on Speakeasy a part I don't normally teach. By the way, I'm trying to figure out how to get this we just set up my studio newly, so everything's kind of new. So right now it looks like I have this crazy hair. It's actually this lion. And then I'm trying to figure out how do I, not trying, I am figuring out how I can get the lion to show, because also I have what I think is awesome, and I want people to always remember you rock. So anyway, so here's what I wanted to talk about. So Tony's at the back table, and one of the techniques I teach is about using these embedded commands and strings of commands. And I remember talking to him thinking, is it ethical to do it? And then I remember thinking, this guy really wants to change, but he needs a nudge to change. And so I did this thing with truth, truth, truth command. And I was like, sign the paper. He's like, boom, signs the paper. And he's like, man, I got this challenge with something. And I don't know if you remember this, Tony, but I said, do me a favor, dude. Just stand here. And it was like a divine guidance thing. I just had this leading to have you stand next to me. And it had been a big event. And it was one of the first times I sold my own program. And there was a line of people coming up. And there was like 8 people in a row who were like, I really want to do it, but I don't have the money. Or I really don't want to do it, but I don't have the time. And it was excuse. And after like this, it was so cool, because after like the 6th person, you went like this. And you looked at me and you went, I got it. And you went and signed up. It was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, man, I wish I could have people stand next to me when other people are making excuses, because they would get how ridiculous the excuses are.
You know what was interesting? The other piece that happened. So I came to the first, what was it called?
The bridge.
The bridge. And Bree and I both came to that. And it really was I think we would have gotten divorced had we not come to the bridge. And it made a big difference. And then at the next event, we came to the mastermind retreat you did in St. Augustine, Florida, at the beach house. And I met Jase Rodriguez, who became my coach for 3 years, changed my life. But that was a $9,000 investment. And it was interesting because I got my brother to put it on his Amex, and he had a 45-day float. And because I did that, and I had this intention to pay him back within that 45 days, I showed up differently. I was unstoppable. I was like relentless. And I actually pulled a deal that was literally in the trash can. I pulled it out of the trash can, and I'm like, how can I approach this one differently? And I brought it together, made $20,000 on the deal. But that's the interesting thing, Jason, in this game, because I know that you're training people to be speakers, and there's this question of, am I pushing that person to spend money? And is that doing them good, or is that doing them harm?
Yeah.
And being a stand for people. I have the same thing come up sometimes. I'm like, oh, they can't afford it. In fact, I have a guy in my program right now that I didn't close. One of my partners enrolled him into the program, but I knew his situation. I'm like, no way that guy can participate. I won't even ask him to participate because I know his situation. And he stepped up, and because someone else didn't have a story that he couldn't afford it, or he shouldn't be in it, or whatever. He's in it. He's having magnificent breakthroughs. And I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, wow, I would have limited his experience. My limiting belief, my scarcity belief about him would have caused me to not enroll him. And he is coming and saying he's so grateful he's in the program. And it's really like emotionally, it's bugging at me because I would have limited his ability to experience breakthrough.
Dude, I have a story about that. I will tell in a little bit. I want to tee up the call, though, and then I want to tell the other story about you because you actually touched on it. So here's what Tony's going to be talking about. So actually, Tony, here's what I wrote, Tony. And for those of you who are holding podcasts or events, something I really love doing is offering my guests the chance to talk about what they're most passionate about. Because my thought is, if that's what they're most keyed up on and fired up about in the moment, we're going to get their best stuff. And so Tony was talking about creating change, like real permanent change. And so we're going to launch into that. The intention was not to talk about my stuff, but it's fun to share these stories. So here's the other 2 stories I remember about Tony. One was that you had to figure out how to get to the bridge, and you did. And then we offered the unlimited weekend. It was the first one we ever did. It was $4,500 a person. And it's cool that we remember it the same. And Tony's like, he went to buy it. And I was like, how's he going to pay? I was like, someone asked how you're going to pay him. Like, he's going to figure it out. I don't know. And like that cemented for me, when people commit to playing full out, they'll make it happen. Like they'll make it happen 100%. And it really also cemented for me my belief that quite often in personal growth, the breakthrough isn't just what happens at the course. The breakthrough is figuring out how to pay for the course. It's finding the money. So
It's who you're becoming in that moment. And then I hired Jason as my coach, who you introduced me to. I coached with him every week for 3 years.
wow.
And everything grew. Like I showed up as this bigger person. I became a public speaker. I fulfilled that dream. And then I ended up teaching seminars all over the country. 10,000 people go through the events and made a few $1 million. Like all this stuff grew. And then 2008, I was doing real estate events. I was teaching how to do short sales. And then the market started changing. My real estate deal started falling apart. My equity in the houses was like becoming debt. Like everything was falling. And I hadn't gone through the authenticity seminar yet, called Losing Everything. And when the market started turning and I was starting to freak out, I went into my own fear patterns and I went into my own like, oh, who am I if I lost $60,000 on this deal and I can't, I have imposter syndrome kicked in. And then I fired Jason. 3 years, I talked to him every week. I talked to him when my grandfather died. I talked to him when I had marriage troubles. I talked to him when I closed a $100,000 deal. I talked to Jason when I was going on stage and he would challenge me. And then when things got crazy and I went into my own fear pattern, I fired him and I wouldn't talk to him and I wouldn't tell him why I fired him. And he's like, what happened, dude? Where'd you go? And I went into hiding and I sabotaged all of it. I eliminated all that money from my life. I sold all my stuff, literally, all the cars, the toys, the house. I sold the furniture. I sold the silverware for $15. Went into complete implosion. Wow. And moved into this little rental house in the backwoods of Virginia, and I hid for like 2 years. This house had down in this cellar, it had this awful laundry room that was from that Home the Home Alone story where the kid was always afraid to go down in the cellar, And it had one of those cellars with the laundry room, and there was this snake skin that was hanging from the ceiling. And I was like, oh, crap, I got to knock that down so my kids don't get scared. So I get a broom, and I climb up to knock down the snake skin, and I knock it down, and I look, and there's like 100 of them hanging there. Right? So I went from
100 snakes? Or
snake skins, like molted snake skins, right? I didn't see the live snakes. But so I went from living in this incredible, luxurious place and living in abundance to living in complete scarcity and made a garage, had this little garage that I turned into my office, and I started anew. My office was the bathroom, and this house was so old that it didn't have plumbing when it was first built. And so they put a porch, the back porch became the bathroom. So it was this weird shaped, long rectangular bathroom. It was like 8 feet by like 12 feet. So on one side is this nasty little tub and the toilet, and then there's this big open space, and that became my office. So I went from like this luxurious office to an office in the bathroom, and my little kids would come in. There's only one bathroom in the house. I had 4 kids at the time, and I'd be on calls, and they'd come in and they'd use the toilet, and I'm like, don't flush, because we didn't have the mute feature we have on all our phones now. You couldn't just mute, and they'd flush, and they'd be like, oh, you flushed again. They're like, but I began from that place to then re-examine what are my stories about me that caused me to sabotage all this stuff. What was I so afraid to see in me that I had to tear it all down and hide from what I was unwilling to look at in myself? And it was super painful. It wasn't that painful to like lower my standard of living. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but the inner story of like, who am I if I don't have this success, or if people aren't reaching out to get advice from me or whatever. And that's the part that I'm so interested in, is the reinvention. Because on the other side of that game, you get this freedom, but you have to like tear the stories down. You have to be willing to let go of the identity and our fears of failure, our fears of being seen, our shame, and who are we? What are we trying to prove with our life? And on the other side of it, you get to reemerge as a more authentic expression of who you are as a being. But yeah, it was a ride, man.
I love it. I'm going to come back. Let me do some shout outs real quick. If you're watching, I can't see everyone who's tuned in from streaming a couple places, but I see Alan Hunter, Leslie Sylvie, Harold Malloy. What's up? Do you remember Harold from the Unlimited?
Of course I remember Harold. Harold, let me plug Harold. Harold has the most remarkable, transformative healing process of releasing stuff out of the body that I have ever experienced, hands down. And I've had a lot of body work done. Yep. Harold Malloy has the very best ever.
Harold, are you hearing this? So here's how Tony and I reconnected. you know how God orchestrates things. So when the lockdown happened, I thought I'm going to start doing a home happy hour. And I thought I'm like this original dude. And then I see like millions of people are doing it. And I realized how unoriginal I was. But I reached out to a local person who has the Boise Beer Buddies. It's like a membership and get discounts at breweries. And so I co-hosted a thing with her and I shared it. And you came on and popped in and we got to have a beer together. And I was like, oh my gosh, Tony, I haven't seen you for years. And it was just so cool. And it was really cool too, because there were people who I have met over the last 10 years that you affected massively. Like Monica Vaughn in Las Vegas, and then Linda Ipaye right here in Boise. And so to see you again was so cool. And I got to be honest, there's a part of me that goes, son of a, Tony really hit it big. I should have done way better.
You know what's funny, Jase? This is what's funny. I always looked at your speaking career and I was like, man, he really like spoke on all these different stages, and I had such a narrow thing that I've done as far as that, you know. Yeah. It's so funny the stories we make up. We watch somebody else's success,
right?
And it's like, oh man, if I could do like that, then I'd really have arrived.
Totally. Just this man in the back. Hey, let me get some comments in here. When you were acknowledging me, Ronan said, great acknowledgement of you. Thank you, Ronan. So cool. Amy said, do you know Amy Kleptak? She said, Tony is awesome. Amy is a home inspector and with her husband, Terry. That's awesome. Thanks, Amy. And then Harold must be watching. Harold said, thank you. Harold is amazing. So something about Harold, too, that I was talking about with the Boise Beer Buddies thing, Harold jumped on. So I got to reconnect with Harold. So I got to say, through this COVID thing, while it's been crap and, I'm ready for it to be done, it's really been nice to reconnect with some people that I don't know if we would have otherwise reconnected. It's really cool. And then this is my cousin, Vicky says, good podcast. One thing I've learned, though, is when we don't have to compare or judge with others, that we haven't lived up or done better than them, it sets you free. Amen. And I can testify to that. We did a Zoom with my fraternity brothers the other night. And one thing I've always wanted is be married, have kids, and I haven't done it yet. And so all these guys like, I got X amount of kids, and I'm just like, I'm a freaking loser. Like I'm sitting there like bashing myself, And so it's just crap. But then when you were talking about losing everything, I have to say, I really believe that there is such a freedom in that, because I went on the recession before the recession, because I was speaking to real estate investors, and that dried up really fast. And then I also went into a personal depression because I bought my Hummer. I was doing all the stuff they say will make you happy. I'm traveling the world. I'm even, I'm doing empty stuff like partying around the world and going on dates, but also like fulfilling stuff like changing lives and helping people get married and avoid suicide. But it was still empty. And I personally went into a recession because nothing filled me up. And through the period of losing everything, that's when I truly found myself. So I want to hear Lynn Helen joined also. So you guys, if you're watching, please like and share the stream so more people can get onto this kind of info. Also, Becky Jurgensen, what's up, Becky? Becky joined as well. So I want to hear more. So tell me more about how you did your transformation.
Well, you think about like right now, there's going to be this reset in different people's businesses. Like some people's businesses will thrive and others will have a hard reset. And so the question is in the space, it's like, how do you interpret what's happening? Like what happened is what happened, right? The world shut down in a way we never have. And there's going to be a pileup because of it. Some people will fare really well and some people won't. But in your own story of you as a human being, what are you making it mean? Because if I could look back at myself and 10 years ago when I was like really ashamed, like profoundly ashamed, I was so afraid of people that had come to my real estate seminars knowing my house went into foreclosure. Like haunted me, this idea. And I remember the day I was so afraid I'd get a letter from one of the investors that had come to my seminars. And it's be like, hey, I see your house is in foreclosure. I can help you. Because that's how I bought houses,
Yeah.
And so I remember going to the mailbox and getting that letter. And I opened it up and I read it. And I looked around the street and there weren't 10,000 people sitting there laughing at me saying, see, we knew you couldn't keep it up. We knew you were just a fake. It was just right here. That's where those 10,000 people existed.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there. I'm like, this is the moment that I feared. This is the moment that I stayed up so many nights being afraid of. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I threw the letter away. I was like, that was it. But there's this possibility of reinvention if we don't resist it, especially if we don't make up a story that says, I'm not valuable, I'm not lovable, I'm not the same status I was. And those stories keep us so stuck. And there's a possibility for a greater expanse of freedom if we can have grace on ourselves, if we can have ease on ourselves, and particularly on the shame that we do towards ourselves. The other interesting thing I want to share is this. I, for a long time, would I published programs about how to visualize and manifest things, and I would.
Sorry, hold on a second. It's clockwork. As soon as there's a Zoom, my dog barks at something. Sorry. Keep going. I apologize.
So I published these programs on how to visualize and then manifest those things in your life. And when I was manifesting all this stuff that I didn't like, there was so much shame. It's like, what's wrong with me? If I know how to do this, why am I creating these things?
Yeah.
And in that space, I didn't believe there were more opportunities. I thought the opportunities were done. I thought the economy would never come back. And that's what I experienced until I began to believe that there were opportunities. And the moment that I began to believe that, I began to see opportunities. It took me a couple of years to get out of that slump, but I started to actually go, oh, I think I can create this. And then bam, the right person, the right place, the right time. I showed up differently, and then the world occurred differently. And so as we're going into this, there's going to be people that are like, oh, the sky's falling. And there would be people who lose their businesses and lose their jobs and lose their houses, lose their stuff. And some people are losing their lives, right? There's tragedy. Yeah. And within that, so much of how we experience it is going to be depending on what our story is, what our emotional story about the situation is. Are we resonating with all the trauma and the chaos and the loss and the fear and there's no opportunities? Or are we going, you know what, there's still 7 billion humans and we're still eating every day and we're still using our technology every day. We're still exchanging. There's still this stream of money of trillions of dollars all over the world changing hands. It's still happening. It's just that some of the streams dried up. So if we stay in the dried up stream bed and we're like, damn it, why is the world not showing up the way it used to? We will suffer. But if we can go, hey, I'm just human. I'm just going to be alive for a little while. We all have success. We all have failures. Yep. And I'm going to adapt quickly. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to create new skill sets. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. And most importantly, I'm going to be conscious about my mindset. I'm going to be conscious about what I take in here and my practice of being positive and optimistic and looking for opportunity. Because I believe when we do that, then we see opportunity. There's a part of the brain called the reticular activator. And this is where we become aware of things. So like when you bought a Hummer, I remember you were talking about a Hummer when I was at your event. Like, I'm going to get my Hummer.
Talk about the reticular activator is I had so those of you that weren't there, I had a dream car, a Hummer, and I believe when you have something you really want, you put it out. And so I have been putting it out there for like a year, and long enough that people are now coming back going, did you get the Hummer yet? And this one woman sent me it was like this big. It was a perfect scale model of a Hummer. And then talk about the reticular activator. I had that thing. I'd look at it every day, and then I finally got that Hummer.
Yeah, and then once you got the Hummer, everywhere you went, you saw Hummers.
Yeah, none were as good looking as mine, but yeah.
Of course, right. But the reticular activator of the brain gets us aware of that, right? So then we start noticing and noticing and noticing. And I don't know if there really is a law of attraction or not. I've been kind of like, sometimes I've really believed that there's actually this thing called the law of attraction, and who we are attracts more of that. And sometimes when I'm being agnostic about those things, I just look at the brain, and maybe it's just us thinking about it and being aware of it. But regardless, it works. I don't have to know why it works. Like, I don't know why my cell phone works and how it works exactly. But there's something that happens and it works. But what happens is when you begin to search for opportunities and you begin to ask questions of, how can I see greater opportunity today? How can I have an even better experience? How can this turn out to be the biggest gift that's ever happened in my life? And I'll say this. Like an enormous amount of my drive to be successful, which in my mind was money and status and recognition. Like those were big success points to me to go, see, that's like the teenager that they said would never amount to anything gets to go, well, look, I must be somebody because I drive this BMW, and I must be somebody because I'm on stage and people are listening and clapping for me, right? There's like that broken child that wanted to prove something.
Yeah.
But when I look at what happened to me, and it was such a gift to be able to let all that crumble and then go, I'm still a human being. I still exist even without all this success. Who am I really? And how do I have value really? And so it's like, if you would have talked to me back in 2008, I'd be so frustrated and upset and all the money I'd lost and all these different things. But you talk to me in 2020 and I go, my God, am I so grateful for that ride, because I really like myself now. Yeah. I don't have it all together. I still got all kinds of messes. I got 5 kids, and like I'm trying to figure that out and connect to them. I've been married 22 years, and sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes we're like, I'm done, right? Like my physical health is sometimes amazing. You know, I got hit by a drunk driver 5 years ago, and I couldn't read or write. So it's like sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes it's not. But like, if I were to go back, I would bless that situation.
Wow.
And I'd hug that guy, and I'd be like, hey, you're going to get a reset that will be so magnificent and so glorious. And you got to let go of the old you. And the sooner you're willing to let go of the old you, the less painful this is going to be. But if you hang on to it, it's going to be really painful.
Really? No, okay. So there are those like car accident type things. What can people, and have you ever heard the phrase, never trust a man who hasn't been broken?
Yeah, I mean, I heard Jack Simplot, who was the first billionaire in Idaho, the Potato King, sells all potatoes to McDonald's. He said, you don't deserve to be wealthy unless you've gone broke at least 3 times. And I hadn't gone broke yet when I heard that. And I was like, shut up, Jack. And now that I've gone broke over 3 times, I'm like, there is some wisdom in it.
Really? I'm thinking how many times I've gone broke. I hope
it's
3.
I've gone broke a few times.
I broke my leg. I don't know if you know.
I saw you on Facebook, man. I saw that.
Does that count?
What did you discover about you in that? Because it was life-threatening.
It theoretically could have been.
Because if it would have shifted, like it's a dangerous break.
Yeah, how'd you know that?
I watched you on Facebook.
Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah, when they did the second. So those of you that don't know, what happened was I fractured my tibia mountain biking. I had a stump that was growing out of the thing, and whatever, they did surgery, they put the external fixators on it, and so I hobbled around, couldn't use that leg. Then they let the swelling go down, they did another surgery and put in a plate, and when they let the when they opened it up, it released the pressure. Evidently a bone chip had gone into like one of my veins, and when they let it out, it started spurting, and I lost like 1 liter of blood, and they had to clamp it and call an expert. And I asked the doctors, like, could I have died from that? She's like, probably not, but maybe you lost your leg. Except if that had shifted, like, what if I'd fallen down the stairs one day or something? If that chip had shifted out of that vein, maybe. What I did learn, though, was I was really disappointed in who showed up and who didn't show up. I mean, I had some people that showed up, thank God. And some of the people I wanted to show up, the quantity and quality of the showing up wasn't there. And so I really looked at myself and I was like, all right, who have I been that I was the cause of people being that way, that my community. And then something happened with Betsy, and we had to call off the wedding a week before the wedding in February. So I broke my leg July, and I went through that experience, and I was like, I'm going to have my community be different. I'm going to be different. And so then in February, when we called off the wedding, I still get touched. The way my community showed up was amazing. And people were like, Jase, I don't know what you're going through. I know you're hurting. I'm praying for you, and I'm here. And it was just like night and day, the difference in how my community was. And it was just freaking awesome. And so what I learned, your question was what I learned. I learned that really it is, and I was just like you before. The success was measured by money and, oh, look, Dad, I am good enough. People listening to me on stage and all this other crap. And that's important. It really is making a difference. It really is God. It really is the community and the people in your lives. That really is the most important thing. So that's what I learned. Great question. Where are you going with that?
No, I'm just curious. I mean, like when I had this program that came to me, like I was up in the Sawtooth, where if you haven't been up the Sawtooth since you've been in Idaho, it's magnificent. I was at 10,000 feet up at this lake, and I'm reading Wayne Dyer's memoir, sitting in a hammock, at this pristine private little lake,
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Top of the mountains, and I have this like thing come over me that says it's time to get your message out there. Like this energy came over me, and I was spiritually agnostic at the time. I grew up in a fundamentalist religion that had a lot of repression, and so I had like cast out all those things and threw everything out. But I had this like incredible experience where this energy came over me, and I just had this knowing it was time. And I came home and I closed one business I was running, and I went and I got this camera crew. I went to the Dominican Republic, and we shot this program. The first video, I'm sitting backwards on a motorcycle while someone else is driving.
Yeah.
And we're driving through the traffic of a third world country, and the camera's following me through the streets. Like I'm training on a wireless mic, you know, so like the car's like following me, and so you're like following this guy on the motorcycle's going that way, and I'm training like nothing's happening, you know. And motorcycles are weaving in and out between us, and you know, I'm driving a dune buggy on one of the trainings. I'm like walking on the railing of this bridge, and I jump off into the ocean. I'm on a zip line on this other training, you know, like with a GoPro, and I'm doing the training while it was incredible. Like I made this program, and then it was like time to publish it. And then I got hit by a drunk driver. And I couldn't make sense of reading. I couldn't write, and I couldn't look at screens, and I couldn't listen to music. And I could only work about 90 minutes a day where my brain would be clear. And then after that, I just got foggy and confused. Mm-hmm. And so I just laid in bed for months. Wow. And I had to sit there and go, but I have this thing. I have to get out there. I have to share. Like, I have this thing. And about a year into it, I wasn't really getting much better. I mean, I had to wear sunglasses and earplugs for a year. And it took me 4 years to really get to where I could do public speaking again. Like I didn't do an event for 3 years. And actually I tried to do an event, and I was so out of it that I got in a fight, an argument with a participant, like from the front of the room. And I couldn't stop it because my brain was so chaotic. And he's getting upset, and I'm like offending him. He's getting more offended, and he just gets up and leaves the event. So I like this, it's trauma. And this doctor says to me, I'm sitting with a neurologist, and I go, you know, I've learned so much compassion because of this injury. I didn't have compassion for people who had things they couldn't change. And then I had massive compassion, and I realized I was mortal, that someday I would die. And that was really useful for me because I didn't really think about that. And I appreciated my client. Anyway.
That's awesome. We're getting a little bit of breakup. Hold on one sec. The signal got bad. This is incredible, too. Hey, some quick shout-outs while his signal's getting better. Leslie, welcome to the stream. Amy Kleptach, good to see you again. So you must be popping in and out. Susan McGrath, good to see you. Who else is on here? Oh, Benny Urbina. Hey, Benny. What's up? Good to see you. Benny is Tio Benny. It's one of Betsy's uncles. And then Amy said, ouch. But you mentioned compassion. That's one of the big things I got when my leg was broken too. Like, it just, I had no idea how difficult physical ailments and injuries were for people. And it like walking up to a door, people, it was the weirdest thing. When I had this big giant contraption on my leg, like it was heavy and it was just painful. And I'd be crutching and to stop and open a door, and then I'd have to wedge my crutch in, and it was so difficult. And people, like, when I had just a little gauze bandage on my leg, they would hold the door for me more. It was the weirdest thing. But it made me, like, compassionate for, like, people that have stuff they have to deal with. I'm just like, it is difficult. So, real quick question for you. What were you doing when you were hit by the drunk driver?
Taking my kids to a concert.
You were just driving your car normal, right? I kind of want to point this out for people watching who, like, have these visions and ideas. Tony was riding backwards on motorcycles, GoProing while ziplining, doing all that other stuff. Everything's fine.
Let me say one other piece, though, because I have energetically looked at, did I draw that in my life somehow? I wanted to see if there was any responsibility I could take. And my intuition was screaming at me not to go on that trip.
Oh, really?
I was so tired. I've been going and going and going, and I was so gutted, and everything in me was like, no, stop, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I powered through it. I drove from Boise to Salt Lake to go to this concert, and I was so gutted. Like in the moment of my deepest depletion of being gutted, like a black hole of energy, a drunk driver hit me. So I'm not, and I'm only saying this for me. I don't say that everybody draws what they draw into their life. I don't believe that. But I like to look at my own life and go, was there something that I needed a reset? Was there something in me screaming to the universe saying, I have to get off this track?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I did look at it that way.
Yeah, I do want to comment on that because you mentioned law of attraction. So I want to kind of segue first. And then I want to come back and ask, what are some actionable things people can do now who want more of a shift? And then also you mentioned something about not being able to get work done. I've had some projects I have been hesitating on lately. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But I do want to touch on the law of attraction, because here's what I think. I think there's something to it, but it's not. And I'm not saying this to you, Tony. I'm saying this to other people watching. It's not a law, but there's like a tool of attraction, and there's something to it. At max, in our heart, they have sensors that can sense what's coming out of our heart. People can feel it, and that causes things to shift. Because if someone walks in the room and it's just weird, well, they're probably not going to do business with that person. But if they work on their heart, and their heart is expressing love and gratitude, and they're open and they're serving, you feel that, and you're like, I want to do business with them. So it's not like they magnetically pulled in a deal, but it's because who they are shifted, people can feel that. And then the other thing you mentioned about like people are they going to stay in that dried up bed of money, or are they going to shift and get into something else? Well, I think part of what happens in the law of attraction is people focus on what they want and they feel it. And typically it's an up emotional state. So it causes them to get up physically. It causes them to think in an up way, to get more creative. And then when the opportunity comes by, they're in a physical, mental, emotional state to grab that opportunity, or to see the opportunity they may have dismissed otherwise. So besides the potential magnetism in the universe, it literally shifts the way we interact with people. Maybe they put a post on Facebook talking about how great life is, and then Mary over here goes, oh, look at how great Bob is doing. I'm going to see if Bob's interested in doing a business deal together. Whereas if Bob had just been posting crap, there wouldn't. So I think there's a very tangible expression of what happens when people do that law of attraction type stuff.
Which I think is why it's so important that we manage our state during this transformation, this change.
Yes.
Because the market is doing what the market's doing. We're not going to change the world. I'm not going to change what the governments decide necessarily. I mean, maybe if I'm in government, but I'm not. So, but what I can do is I can go about my day and choose to manipulate my own physiology, to manipulate my own inner world, and elevate my consciousness, elevate my state, put myself into a peak state through breathing exercises and through movement, through visualization, through choice of how I channel my thoughts. And when I get down, I can have processes to effectively either stay there and really learn from it or get out of it. But it's taking, like I call this radical leadership, it's taking authority for our inner experience. And then if we want to feel awful, we can hang out and we can feel awful, but it's a conscious choice of like, I think I'm going to be angry for a little while. But because if I choose it, then I can go, okay, now I'm done being angry. Now I know how to shift my physiology. I know how to breathe. I know how to move. I know how to, do these things to get to another peak state. And I can go back to where I feel better. But if we're consciously doing that independent of the marketplace, independent of what's happening in the economies, then we're showing up as that person you just described.
Yes.
We're showing up as a magnetic person where other people want to be with us.
I love it. So Tony's been doing something with his business partners called the Legendary Challenge. So today was the 10th day, I believe. So for 10 days in a row, they did an hour training every morning. And part of that was breathing exercises and things to get in peak state. And I quite enjoyed it. I actually got a lot of value out of it. Even after the first day of doing those breathing exercises, I was like, I feel way better. And my friend Troy had taught me that stuff a couple of years ago when I moved to Boise. And when I first came for that health reset, but I hadn't been, continuing with the practice. And I was like, I really dig this. And I think that's something that has been missing from my personal growth and a lot of others, is I've been adept at causing massive shift, yet lacking the tools for day by day, moment by moment management of my state. And
every one of us has that.
Huh?
That's human nature, man. Everyone has that, unless you have something externally that brings you back into that place. It's why we created the Legendary Tribe. I need the Legendary Tribe as much as the tribe needs the Legendary Tribe. Because otherwise, I don't get myself into that peak state consistently. But if there's structure, if there's a community, if there's commitment outside of us, if we try to have change be that we're sitting in a dark room trying to figure out our stuff by ourselves, it doesn't work. It's an illusion. In my podcast, I have this podcast called WTF, What the Flow. It's all about getting into the flow state. But I have this podcast I just recorded called Sitting in a Dark Room by Yourself. Right? It's like sitting there trying to work out your thoughts. So we created a community where people gather together. There's structure around it. There's schedule around it. those are the tools we need as humans to
Mhm.
remind ourselves to bump up. But like every morning, 8:45 Mountain Time, on our Facebook page, we do this breathing exercise.
Do you do it every day?
That part we do every day as part of the tribe.
Oh, that's awesome. So
So
you want to share
plug in.
about the tribe? Do you want us to post a link to the page?
Yeah, I have to
Probably
post
do
a
it.
link to the page. I don't actually have the login link.
Is it
Come
the
on, my
Facebook group you're talking about?
it's a legendary Facebook group,
Do you mind finding it, hon?
and there's a
Post it in
registration.
the comments.
Yeah, I'm gonna send a text and find out what the link is to register. Because it's so funny you asked me. I don't even know. I'm so excited about it. But hold on. What's the reg link?
Hey, we had some more people join while you're doing that. Dana, good to see you, and Alma, good to see you too. Hi.
Anyway.
we have Betsy's tribe joining in, talking about tribes.
I want to finish this one thought, and then I want to dive into what we can do on a daily basis. So I went to this neurologist, and I'm telling this story about this epiphany I had in the mountains. And I said, I've learned so much from this injury, but my frustration is I feel like I'm a year behind in my project because of this accident. And the doctor said something to me that really changed my life in that moment. She said, if you believe you have some kind of like purpose, if you're so preposterous to believe you have some kind of purpose in your life, and you actually believe that about yourself, and that life has this purpose for you, why is it so hard to believe that accident wasn't just part of your path of purpose? And I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, thank you. I just changed my story. That I'm right on track in my life right now, and that this moment is perfect, and that this accident is perfect, and that my progress is perfect. And if you ask me now, 5.5 years later, I am so grateful that program did not take off when I built it because of who I was in that moment. And so like who I have become because of this evolution, now I feel like there's this free flow, authentic share that I didn't have back then. And this understanding, it's like all of these beautiful things. So I say this because some of the people watching this are going to be going through resets. Maybe we go through a reset in relationship. Maybe there's health issues. Maybe it's the financial with all the COVID stuff. But can we approach these things and say, like maybe even project ourselves to the future self, the future us, sitting us down and going, hey, I know that was really hard, but look what's so amazing in your world right now because of that. And so just take this with some grace, be kind to yourself, and go easy on yourself as you go through this path. And then the other piece, so I think first and foremost, the way I said it, okay, here's the link, legendarytribemember.com. That's where you can join our Facebook group where we get into this peak state every single day. And like today's training I did, we have a little training. Today's training was all about the science of change and why it's so hard for us to change. The nature of our brain is to keep us the same. And it's Mother Nature being kind to us. Jase, think about like if everything you wanted to have happen in your life when you were 15 years old had actually come about. Like, could you imagine what a mess it would be? Like if we had instant manifestation and we could like think about something and be like, oh, I want that. And it would just show up in our life. Like what a train wreck that our life experience would be. And so nature did this kind thing called there's a delay between the thought and the emotion and the actual experience. And so to change our brain, we have to really like repeat this experience. First of all, we have to change our story. We have to crack the shell of our identity, of who are we in the process of this. And then we have to repeat. We have to reinforce. And the way we reinforce it the most effectively, and I really want to drill this piece down, is through emotion. All right, so you think about like if like you have a lot of people that are speakers and trainers and want to get out in the world and share a message.
Yep.
We think about the reluctance that happens when we get on stage. It's not cognitive. It's not that our thinker brain goes, well, I'm thinking through the possibility that someone might laugh at my presentation. No, it's embodied. It's a physical reaction. We're like, oh, what am I going to do? What if it doesn't work? Right? There's like this noise in us. What if I forget what I'm going to say? Yeah, there's some thought available, but it's a mostly embodied experience. And so transformation needs to be embodied because that's the rewiring of the brain. And it has to be done over and over and over and over. And our nature is, Jase, what you just said. Oh, I have this thing I want to create, but I haven't been doing it. That's how our brain protects us. And that's why it's so important that we have external tools. So for example, an external tool can be like one of the tools that I've done for years for myself and with clients is we record statements being spoken to ourselves, like an affirmation statement, and we'll record our voice speaking it, we'll mix it with Mozart music, and then we'll listen to it for 15 minutes in the morning. So it's a tool that's outside of me that I recorded in a peak state, when I was really feeling emotionally connected to my vision. And then when I lay in bed and I'm feeling like crap in the morning and I'm like, oh, I got to do this again. Oh, I got 8 hours of calls today. Oh, how am I going to live through this day? That I can, that's like that's human nature. I can put my earphones in and I can be like, oh, that's right. I'm creating transformation. Oh, that's right. I'm sharing love in the world. Oh, that's right. I'm drawing abundance in my life. Oh, that's right. I feel good in my body. Oh, that's right. I have connected relationships. Oh, that's right. My life feels on purpose. I feel good. And I start breathing and I get the physiology into it. And I've now rewired neurons in my brain because I felt it. But that tool wasn't based on how I felt that day. That's why we do the tribe every morning.
Perfect.
It's as good for me to do the breathing training as it is for people to participate in it. Because it gets me out of my shit show. It gets me out of my crap, another day. Okay, we're going to do this, people. Let's go.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. So for me, it used to be, I call them big events. When I knew I had an event or a webinar or a live or something coming, I had to get my state up because I was going to be serving others and speaking. So I think the more things we could put external to ourselves. So for me, when I lived in Vegas, I did a keto. And I don't know if you know that I did a keto for a long time. And that was external to me. And it was training. And we'd begin and end every class on our knees. And so it was humbling. And it was all about the spirit. And so it was throwing yourself, having practices, I think is super effective. By the way, you mentioned the Facebook group. The link you sent us was for like a membership program. Is that to get in the Facebook group, or is there a free Facebook group? Because I have the link for the free Facebook group.
Oh, post that. I apologize. We have a bunch of programs going on right now. So yeah. I know we're about to start a 3-day event tomorrow.
There's the group. Yeah, tell us about your event also, what you have going on.
So this is all about the process of transformation. And there's going to be a lot of breakthrough exercises, like belief breakthrough. We're going to do a 3-day event. It starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Ends at 5 or 6 in the evenings. It's a virtual event. People from all over around the world participating. But what it's focused on is breakthroughs and how to create them, how to experience them, and then putting tools in place for that to become who you are. And I think it's so important. So it's all right. Here's what I'm going to do, Jase. It's $497. We have some people that paid, but I hope they're not watching this live broadcast. If you want your people, I would give this to you. I'll let your people in for. I have a link for $27.
No way.
If they'd like to attend the 3-day event.
Seriously. Yeah. Send it over. We'll post that in the chat.
Yeah, so if they want to come and play, they can join. It's maylegendary.com since it's this month's legendary. Maylegendary.com. And then I'm going to get you the promo code in a second for the $27.
That's awesome.
Anyway, if they want to participate, but the idea is, I mean, whether you're participating in this or something else, you want to figure out how do you build as much structure outside of you to do this. So like another thing that we're doing is we have accountability pods. So I have a group that I get with, and we have a call every single day for this 8-week challenge that we're doing. So every day at 6:45 in the morning, my time, I get on this call with 4 other people, and I make a commitment for 3 action items that day. And I know that I'm going to show up and I'm going to push myself because I want to show up on that call powerful.
Yeah.
I want to show up and go, yeah, I did my thing. So I only will commit to things that I'm really going to do. They're a little stretch. They're not big stretches. They're little stretches that get me in the direction of what I want, but it's outside of me because I give myself a pass too easily. I let myself off the hook. I know how it feels to be me. I know when I'm tired. I know when my head's all wonky. You know, it's so easy to give myself a pass and go, well, it's totally legit and totally.
I totally understand that.
Right?
Did you get the code? I said I understand that. Did you get the code?
Promo code is LION. If you put in LION, you can get in for $27.
LION.
Yeah, so awesome. Maylegendary.com, promo code LION. And it will be an incredible, transformative experience. We're going to dig into belief systems around shame. We're going to have huge processes around shame, but we'll eliminate it. We're going to do money belief breakthroughs. We're going to do body belief breakthroughs. We're going to help you create your vision. We'll actually create a vision statement with you, so then you can record it on your phone and listen to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interaction, a lot of getting into the peak state like we like to do. So I'd love to have any of your people come and play with us. But yeah, the thing is, as humans, I think the more we understand this, the more we can give ourselves a break and not give ourselves a pass. So give yourself a break because you sabotage it. Give yourself a break because you your crap came up, or you got discouraged, or all the noise happened, or you got depressed. Yeah, I got it. But don't give yourself a pass.
Yep.
Put tools in place that you know are going to help you. The funny thing for me, Jase, is I've been teaching this for years. And every time I go to change.
I need to fix something. Hey, hon, can you put in the chat? It's maylegendary.com, and then the code is tribe. I mean, it's maylegendary.com. Promo code is lion. Sorry about that. Thanks. I just want to make sure because we're putting it in the. So for those of you watching,
got it.
Yeah. I didn't know he was going to do this, or we would have had these teed up. So Betsy's here. Betsy, say hi real quick. Betsy's
also.
There's my beautiful
Hi,
Betsy.
Hi, Hi,
I can't wait till we hang out. So I'm going to be. We should hang out. I'm going to be in Boise. We are moving to the Dominican Republic in a month. I decided to have an adventure with my family, and all this like crisis and COVID and all this other stuff. I'm like, you know what? Let's go play. Let's go live on an island.
Nice.
And let's have fun during this time. So in about a month, we're moving to the Dominican Republic, but we'll be in Boise for a week or so. So I'd love to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Sometime in June, like mid-June-ish.
For sure.
20th or something. We'll get together and have a hangout. But yeah, maylegendary.com and promo code is lion.
And everybody watching, if you wonder why she's not on, she doesn't want to be. I love it when she's on. And I'm like, you want to be on? I'm like, no. So. So I love when she's on.
I'm in the background.
I love it. I'm excited to meet you.
To be the win. So by the way, Dominican, I love the Dominican. We almost went there on our honeymoon. So let me check out some other stuff. All right. So tell us more. So it's maylegendary.com, promo code line. That is awesome. So those of you guys watching, I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that. I don't get any commissions on this, anything. I got a lot of value out of the 10-day challenge and what we've been doing. So you were just talking about radical accountability, and you told a story about something that you had to do. Do you want to share?
My kids, I'm pretty passionate and I get animated, and I talk on the phone a lot, so I talk loud. I'm loud. I'm a public speaker. I'm just, I'm a loud person. And what I found out, and I don't want to make light of this, but it was I got feedback from my wife and my kids that they were not feeling safe when I would raise my voice. And I grew up in a house where everyone yelled at each other. So it's like, if I get passionate about something, I'm like, what are you doing? I get fired up. And I got this feedback. It was really hard to sit with because I didn't see myself as someone who made their kids afraid or my wife afraid because of that. And so I really wanted to change it, but it was this lifelong thing. It's just how I grew up. I'm already loud all day long. So they would say I was yelling. Like if I was talking at this pace where I'm right now, they go, you're yelling. I'm like, yelling? I'm just talking so Jase can hear me. I'm not even, this isn't even close to yelling. You should know what yelling's like. But I was getting this feedback and I wasn't willing to hear it for a long time. And then when I really got in their world, I didn't want to be causing that in their world, but this was this like habitual thing. So I made what I called a power pledge, or in this case, it was a piss pledge. And I said, like, I thought, what would be this consequence that I would really not want to have happen and not really want to do? That I'm so committed to this that if I don't do this, I'll drink my own pee. And that was the pledge I made. And they were like, and I told them this. I'm like, look, here's the pledge. If you say to me, hey, you're raising your voice, and I don't immediately lower my voice, I don't immediately self-regulate, I will drink my own pee. And I don't like drinking my own pee. I've only done it 3 times. It's disgusting. It's so gross. Like it is awful. But it was this really interesting experience in me to commit to something that I was so committed to that I was willing to put that kind of pledge behind it. Like that my word actually meant something to me. Yeah. And so I knew I didn't want to drink my pee. So I was willing to do that. Now, there's 2 times that I've broken it. Once I was in Vegas driving, I was in traffic going like 85 miles an hour, and this car swerves and slams on the brakes, and I almost get in this car wreck, and I'm watching this car come up behind me, which I have trauma because I got rear-ended, and I was like, having this, and I'm on the phone with my wife, and we were arguing about something. So in the middle of all this, like just slamming on the brakes, the auto lock brakes, swerving, I yelled. I'm like, stop. I'm like, oh shit, I yelled. Okay, so I drank my pee and I sent her a picture of it. I'm like, I mean it. I'm sorry I broke my pledge. And then the other time was with my kids where I was so upset with them that I'm like, I know you're telling me not to yell, but I'm so upset with you. I'm breaking my pledge. And they're like, you're going to drink your pee. I'm like, that's the right. Damn straight. I'm going to drink my pee. And you guys quit doing this crap. And then afterwards, I drink my pee. But the point of it is not to drink your pee. The idea is, are there things in your life that you're so committed to that actually mean something that you're willing to put your word to those things and put a pledge? to say, I mean this, and this is how much I mean this. And I want people to think about, like, people that are watching this, how much does it make you squirm to think about this idea? Like, hopefully it makes you gag. Hopefully you're just like, oh, gross. Like, that's disgusting. Yeah. And so the question is, do you really mean your commitment? Because if you really mean it, then this pledge is easy. Because you're just going to show up differently. The problem is we say stuff that we don't really mean. We commit to stuff that we don't really intend. We're not going to really be powerful in our word to create.
Yep.
But when we have things in us that we're so committed to creating, we're so committed to self-regulating, we're so committed to stepping up, that we make a radical level of accountability around those things.
Yep.
Our life transforms and we become a different kind of person. So as this is moving forward, I know we're kind of wrapping up in the end of the hour here, but as you're moving forward, like, look at your life and what are you really committed to? And then in all this transformation and all this change, you can go through this change and this transformation with curiosity, and you can go through it with a lack of attachment to physical things, or you can go through it clinging to the old and laying in a dry riverbed, wishing the water was still there, and fighting and kicking and suffering. And it's all really just about how you choose to show up in this game. And then within that context, get the external support so that you're not relying on you to get yourself in a peak state every day. Get around other people that help you to get in that, and then be that for them.
Beautiful. Awesome. So I want to share a story with you. But first, Becky said, the quote of the week, I planted the seeds, even the seeds great as it is for the fall. Proverbs, relative to the current story. Thanks, Becky. So I get a little echo in your end. If you could turn me down, or I don't know what, or whatever. So for some reason, it's giving me a little echo. So one of the things in the thing, Tony had us take on some challenges, and I had 3 things I said I would do over this 10 days. One is get my studio set up, and I did that. I think it's looking killer.
I love it.
Betsy and I have these journals where it's from Brendan Bouchard. Like, you start out your day with what you're going to do that day and accomplish, and then you recap at the end of the day. I didn't do that. And the other one was to record this podcast I wanted to do, and I didn't do it. So today in the shower, I drank pee.
I love it, dude.
Yes, honey?
This is the power. Here's the thing, like, being powerful in your word, this is the definition. I do what I say I'm going to do in the time frame I say I'm going to do it, and when I don't, then I clean it up quickly.
Yeah.
That's it, dude. You were powerful in your word.
Yeah.
And now you cleaned it up quickly. You kept your commitment. And now you get to decide if you're really committed to those things. I wouldn't just remake the commitment. I'd check in with yourself and say, am I committed to playing at that level?
Totally. And you know what's funny though? I know Betsy's teasing, but see, that's actually more painful than the pee itself. Was gross conceptually. It didn't taste that bad though, but conceptually it was gross. And it was, just a little cup, right? But that she won't kiss me now. That's painful. But then here's why we put repercussions on it like that. And I used to have people do similar things, like write the check. It's not the writing of the check. There's already impacts, and it's making the impact visceral and real. Because the impact is, if that's something I want, how many lives am I not touching? How many people am I not affecting? How much income am I losing? How much self-actualization am I missing? And then also for most people, I find when we don't do what we gave our word to, we get sheepish and we get shy, and we make more, you can either make results or excuses. That's it. And so, oh dude, I have to show you this one game I created one day called Results or Excuses. It just came to me during an event, and it's awesome. But we just get better at making excuses is what we get better at until we get the breakthrough. Or like you said, to check in, I love too, because there's sometimes we're really not committed to it. We just think we're supposed to. And I think there's a real freedom in letting go of what we think we're supposed to do. So no, it was great. And I really don't want to ever do that again. The process was great. The drinking of the pee was horrible. And I don't want to ever do that again. So I'm going to, I almost threw up too. I did it in the shower just in case I threw up. I almost just threw up now thinking about it. Shout outs. Troy Olds, welcome to the show. It's good to see you. Who else do we got? We've got Telly Pena joined in. Tonio Garcia joined in. Emmett Reed joined. Wow, Emmett, old fraternity brother. Let's see. Dwayne Segura joined. Good to see you. Christy Walker Orlando. Hi. Jeff Vanderveer. Good to see you too. Wow, it's like old home week. I'm seeing a bunch of old names I just love. Anybody over here? No? Cool. Yeah, it's been, yeah, we are wrapping it up. So you guys, if you want to go to maylegendary.com, put in promo code LION. And then what is that? Tomorrow? It's what, Wednesday,
Yes.
Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Starts tomorrow, 10 a.m. Mountain Time,
Cool.
10 to 5. And really profound, deep, fun, and breakthroughs.
So cool. So cool. So any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share as we go?
Look, we're in this together. We've never had an experience like this before where the whole world got to play Reset. And it's a beautiful opportunity where I think it's okay to be vulnerable. I think it's okay to have transition. I think it's okay. When I went broke in 2008, I kept it a secret. When I got in the car accident, I kept it a secret. And I think this is an opportunity for us to lean on each other and go, wow, my business just changed. Wow, my life just changed. Wow, these things just changed. And support each other. Be real about it. It's okay. We're all in transition.
Yep.
It's a beautiful opportunity. Jase, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I always wanted to write a book. Remember at Unlimited Weekend, we used to share our deepest, darkest secret. And I learned back then, by the time the last person shares, nobody remembers what the first person said. But everybody would hold these secrets like they were such a big deal. And I wanted to write a book called You're Not Effed Up. And it would just be stories of everybody's deepest, darkest secret. And when you saw what everybody else was carrying, you'd realize what you're carrying is normal. So, dude, it is an honor, Tony, to have you on here. So you guys, if you're interested in maylegendary.com, let me put up all the things too. If you want to do the free breathing, go to facebook.com groups, the Legendary Tribe. I will be joining because I really, really enjoyed starting at 8:45 Mountain.
8:45 Mountain. Every day we do a breathing exercise and a visualization to get into a peak state.
I love it. That is just so cool. And then we didn't make a banner for it, but if you want to join Tony, check out his podcast at WTF What the Flow. Tony, it has been awesome. Go change the world, man. It has been
Jase.
so,
Nice to see you,
so
Betsy.
cool to see you.
Likewise,
Yes,
Tony. Again, we'll see you soon.
Yay.
Love you, buddy.
Yes. Yep.
So, you guys, that was Tony Lister. Tony, what an awesome guest. That was amazing. So, a couple thoughts from me to you guys. I have 2 resources for you if you're interested. One resource is this Friday, Saturday, I'm doing a 2-day event on writing your presentation. I had not planned on opening this to the public. Here's what's going on. My highest level coaching program is called Black Belt Speaker Training. And in Black Belt, we were supposed to have a live event this weekend where we write their high converting presentation. And some of my clients are just crushing it doing webinars now using this template. So it's not, we don't give you the words, but it's what psychological triggers need to be switched in order to get your audience to say yes to your offer. So instead of that live event in person, because we can't do that, I'm going to do a 2-day deep dive training on what needs to be in your presentation to have people say yes to your offer, to have more people buy from you, to have people book their discovery sessions, to have people, if you're someone who's not selling a coaching program or infomercial or information marketing, it could be to have people just say yes, like pastors and priests could get more out of this. Health coaches could get out of this because they'll be more effective at their clients using their information. So it's a 2-day deep dive this Friday and Saturday, May 15th, 16th, special pricing. I'm opening it up. It's going to be straight training. There's not even an upsell on the back end of it. It's just going to be straight training in intimate format. If you are interested, if you're an expert, if you're a speaker, author, or if you have a business that could grow from seminars and webinars, PM me and I'll talk to you about it. The other thing is I'm opening up my calendar for private discovery sessions. We have people rocking it right now. So I'm opening it up for the next couple of days. I have slots open at callwithjase.com. If you go to callwithjase.com, whenever you watch this, you'll see what time I have available on my calendar, and you can book an appointment. When you book an appointment, you're going to be sent a questionnaire, and it's to help us get a point A on where you are in your business and where you could be going. So fill that out, and then we'll be able to talk in the next couple of days and see if there's a way that I can help you really get to that next level. Public presentations are the number one fastest way to grow your business and the number one best way to change the world. So let's help you make a difference and make a lot of money. So this is Jase. You go to callwithjase.com and Betsy. And we love you guys. And remember, our mission in life, what we do at the World Class Speaker Academy, is we believe that you have a God-given mission that only you can do. and it can be funded and fulfilled through your business, then we're here to help you do it. So thank you. It's been an honor. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.